Philosophy is for people who aren't philosophers. It wouldn't be a school of thought if the thought was already in one's school. By school, I refer to the human mind. If people used it there of their own, they would not so much rely on others. I don't intend to be philosophical, because it becomes unnatural to natural language, which is simply to confer ideas, which is to simply provide direction. And direction is only necessary where there is currently not a direction. What I'm to say is that there is no direction other than that of the self and nature. Other direction is mere illusion. Don't take my word for it. Seek out all ends of every ideology and way of thinking. It only leads to a limited worldview, even if it encompasses many ideas. And so as long as there persists the nature of the human mind, no idea is actually settled. The idea of settled is also an illusion. Don't take my word for it, and everything in nature is at a constant change. And you can't defeat it in any way. You must embrace it. Humans are afraid of nature because they are afraid of reality. So much so because they have attached themselves to ideology. Do I have a bias towards nature? Is nature an ideology? Well, I don't know. Everything is nature and has a nature. It's only the entire world we live in and have lived in. It's only knowing everything within such world, and it's only the source of our world. It's only the constant condition of our world. Nature must be understood as freedom with law, and it's the only source where the two persist together and for one another. If you seek to live most naturally, you will have no bias toward anything but what you can observe in the nature of all animals and plants and environments, including thyself. From all these you can learn all. You need nothing more than this. And the reason why we have strayed away from it is because we devalued our mind, therefore enslaving ourselves, whilst relying only on the nature of our own manifestations. In other words, we've become attached to our man-made creations, enveloped within them to the point where nature is but a more distant connection. The connection is there, but not strong, so we become weaker with time rather than stronger. And therefore, yet funny enough, nature is our downfall, because our nature allowed for such. Nothing will save you but yourself, and because of that very notion, few have taken control of many. Nature has been used against itself, yet many still refuse to rely on thyself. Until the masses of the world rely on thyself and nature, no revival and strength will be accomplished. Strength mentally and physically, both together as one. People want to claim that they know it all. Philosophy gives this great illusion as much as science and religion or politics. These are all one and the same, man-made manifestation, denatured systems for control and nothing else. Control means direction, but it also means restriction. In nature, there is no control by any man. There's only the controls of reality, and that is the law, of which also helps constitute your self-control with reason. With self, there is strength. The laws of nature are unseen and may even go by no name, but it is simply earth. It simply is an innate intelligence. And again, it simply is freedom. And freedom does not mean no controls or no possibility for control. These words cannot stand for the intelligence, nor can any man. It stands for itself above us all, and therefore we owe respect via our embrace, but not our worship. Your worship does nothing but to build faith on what really matters, your knowledge for your action within nature. Just because our existence depends on nature does not mean we worship such. We essentially are of nature. And to manifest our own creations when we ourselves are a creation of nature, we'd be fooling ourselves to forget our parents, our family, our belonging. And then you wonder why people have lost purpose, because they never had one. They've ever been pulling to strings of distraction and identity, all modern problems of the denatured man-made world. Nearly all the problems that the natured world will face is not present in the natural world, because the natural world has no problems. Life itself simply lives on where problems are mere reactions, and for that of so-called natural disasters, it is nothing compared to what man can do to his own species. No man is enslaved by nature. They only see that they are when they are attached to a denatured reality. But nature doesn't enslave anybody, because man does it to himself. Nature actually frees everybody, because man should do nothing to himself. No man is naturally enslaved by another man. They only come to be when they think it's legitimate or are violently forced into such. The unnatural is the only ideology, and nature has no ideology. Man will be utmost destructive and yet have feelings. Well, where are they? In their nature, which they enslave. Ideology isn't empathy. Ideology isn't nature. And it can never describe such, no matter how hard it tries. And it will try. It isn't that we shouldn't try, or shouldn't think, or shouldn't create, but that we shouldn't overwrite or overwhelm nature. If the message isn't obvious, it should be. Nature is the answer. I need not convince you if you use it yourself. The only problem is enslavement, if the only ideology is the unnatural. And again, we only see this problem in a denatured reality because it is the result of it. We only think of it because it's the only thought we know of. Philosophy is therefore ever limited to these natures, and it is outsmart by simplicity. It is the mark of simplicity to simply live and let live, to give no harm and take no harm, to know you know much of nothing, to follow nature and nothing else, to do your best at doing good. The assumptions of bestiality and chaoticness in nature are mere attacks on the natural morality and order to be found within real freedom, within development of human consciousness, because it is allowed to and because it is nourished into. These assumptions only hold true in the case of enslavement and the lack of development in human consciousness, which only holds true so long as we actually move farther away from nature, not towards it. It's unfortunate humanity has stole everything from philosophers, but it's also no surprise. Humanity has also stolen from nature. Now, if only it was knowledge for all of humanity rather than a select few. And now, if only it was growingly simplistic rather than growingly complex. And if only humanity was not enslaved because of all such. You may say it is the purpose of schools and teachers to teach, but it is simply the purpose of people, and it can only be people who best teach about people, if people do teach. But not everything really needs to be known. You would have to ask yourself, why do I want to know so much? Will knowing more actually help me? Why am I trying so hard to prove something, instead of reason to understand with perspective? Indeed, there can be cases of confusion or alienation, and all complacent thinkers are prone to it. Reason is not to be a slave to the passions, emotions, or desires, as well as passions, emotions, and desires to be a slave of reason. Why would we let our feelings rise above our knowledge, or knowledge rise above our feelings? The two feed each other and both go into our decision making. It isn't just one or the other. In fact, feeling is a type of knowledge, but only one, and feelings are created under certain reasons. It's amazing people go into long debates of two natural phenomena, putting them against each other when they are together in nature. And it is that which must be upheld. Most philosophers upheld the act of slavery itself or another form thereof. Do these things concern us? Until the world realizes that nature is naturally ironic, that polarities are natural and connected, they will always fight over the trivial, because acceptance isn't an option, only taking sides ever incomplete of one another. Yet, nature is forgotten. Desires taking over knowledge has been the culprit, including my desire to write this and prove a point, because the highest knowledge is having no desire. As a result of all such, ever are we destined to the notion of abolishing. As the Tao speaks, and if I did not contradict myself, I would not be a philosopher either. With the destruction of old comes the rising of new, yet without the old, you would have no new. Similarly, without one view, you would not have the other. In nature, there's value in everything, so let everything be. The simplistics of nature, although can be described with philosophy, is not dependent upon it. Truly, to know more is to know you know less. Similarly, to speak more is to know you speak less. Make freedom clear, the sun can only shine then. Simplicity is the root, because nature is the root. Slavery exists and will end when man realizes that nature exists and will start. Learn from all and be your own philosopher.